Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and there's something that's been kind of ticking me off lately that I wanted to address because I just hear it all the time and it's starting to become a problem for me because I get super hyper focused on things that bother me to the point where I feel like I have to address them or else I'll just explode like a tea kettle that's made in China. So here's the thing. All the time on preparedness channels, you're gonna hear the same thing. Nothing's gonna happen, bro. Nothing's ever gonna happen. Why are you even talking about this? Nothing's gonna happen. And it's just constant. And it's as if nothing has happened. Although we all know many things have happened. And one of the things that makes me very upset about it is that it comes from a position of privilege. You're very privileged to live in a place where you honestly feel like nothing bad could ever happen. You live somewhere like the United States where you think that we're so infallible that nothing could ever disrupt our current way of life. That there's just no chance these things could ever fall apart because everything's just so good and so chill. So we don't really have to worry too much about any of these things, right? Because nothing's gonna happen. I mean, look at my life. It's super comfortable. And you're so comfortable that you're unwilling to prepare because of just how good things are. You have no way of assuming they could ever go away or change. And of course, people all over the world right this second are experiencing the exact opposite and would easily be able to argue with you to say, honestly, my life was really good and comfortable until this thing happened, until scenario X occurred, right? And so prepping isn't about, oh, that something's gonna happen tomorrow, or oh, something is definitely going to happen that'll change the entire planet for the rest of our history. It's about dealing with things that could occur and then having things ready to go in case the worst case scenario does occur. Because it's possible. Not because it's likely or probable, because it's possible. That's all we're trying to do here. And of course, if you're on a preparedness channel and you're trying to learn about preparedness, you're going to be told about things related to preparedness. So yeah, every video I put out is going to have some kind of relation to preparedness regarding the topic because that's the type of channel this is. I'm not going to talk about my favorite Transformers action figure on a preparedness channel, which by the way, I don't have one, so don't worry about that. But it just really bothers me that people are so comfortable and so just set in their ways that there's just no chance in their mind that anything could ever happen. And it's like 2020 doesn't even exist. Like none of the occurrences during the pandemic ever occurred. And that was something that happened. Regardless of what drove the entire scenario forward, whether or not it was valid to a certain degree or whether or not it had the type of consequences that were advertised at the time, something major happened during 2020 that changed the country as well as the world in many, many ways. And a lot of us weren't prepared for everything that happened during that time. And yet here we are 3 years later and nothing's ever gonna happen, right? Which is kind of offensive because do you know how many people lost their jobs? How many people lost their businesses, lost their livelihoods in general during 2020 because of everything that did happen? And those people are still trying to figure out what to do next 3 years later. We have people who were let go from the military, let go from the police, let go from healthcare. We have businesses that have failed and have literally completely disappeared ever since then. We have a huge conglomerate of bureaucracies and federal control now when it comes to our personal healthcare decisions and everything else related to post-2020 anything. But don't worry because nothing ever happens and nothing has happened. And you know what? If you're gonna just lay down and succumb to whatever is pushed upon you in the future from now until infinity, then I guess it will seem like nothing ever happens to you because you're not gonna do anything about it anyway. Which is why when someone says nothing is going to happen, my only response at this point in time is to just do nothing then. Don't do anything then. Why are you even here? Like, why are you even trying to prepare? Just do nothing then. Because if nothing's gonna happen, then I guess the easiest thing to do is nothing. So why don't you just take that route? Now look, I gotta mention, I always have to mention that the biggest supporter of the channel is Midway USA. And I appreciate them helping me do what I do here. And obviously, they have everything you need when it comes to preparedness, which is something that I would suggest you look into in case you want to do something about the thing that could eventually happen rather than doing nothing. But this mentality, the sentiment that nothing ever happens, like I said, clearly comes from a standpoint of privilege. And when I say privilege, I'm not saying some kind of hyped up political term that's used to get people all riled up and, oh, you know, your privilege is showing and everything else. It's not about that. What I'm saying is that you live a comfortable, privileged, I can't say the word apparently, lifestyle right now that doesn't allow you to see anything negative possibly ever occurring to you or your current scenario or situation. And unfortunately, people who are living in other countries right now are dealing with legitimate SHTF scenarios right in front of their face on a daily basis. And they don't have the privilege to just assume nothing's going to happen. They can't just assume that. And you know what's great? I don't know. We have people alive today in our country here in the United States that have gone through straight up SHTF scenarios that can tell you that, yeah, actually things do happen sometimes. But for some reason we ignore that. We ignore those warnings because I guess they're not valid anymore. I guess we're just past that. It's not really a big deal, right? Because nothing ever happens. So here we are, just taking it easy and relaxing and ordering our pizza and playing Xbox until 2 in the morning because nothing ever happens, so who cares? And my rebuttal to that is just, then do nothing. Because if nothing ever happens, then anything related to insurance, anything related to anything that's trying to prepare you for the next step or the next phase, regardless of whatever change occurs in the interim, is pointless. So why even do it? Why have car insurance? Why have life insurance? Why invest? Why have a 401k or an IRA or a savings account? Why start a business? Nothing ever happens. So what's the point of doing anything, right? So obviously this conversation is me just being a little aggravated by that sentiment. I'm sorry that you haven't been pushed into a situation that makes you feel a little bit of insecurity, but maybe that would be healthier for some people in order to find out that things actually can and do happen. You know, maybe having being held at gunpoint at some point in your life, like I have, might wake you up to the idea that you need a way to defend yourself, or you might need to actually learn how to defend yourself at a higher level than the person who held you up at gunpoint at one point in time, right? But these things happen, but they happen to not everyone. So the people who have never had anything bad happen have a much easier time saying that nothing bad's ever going to happen. So be gracious that you're in a situation where you've never had to experience anything like that. Understand and be humbled by the fact that you've lived a very privileged life in the sense of not having any strife or any insecurity, and take that information and process it in a way that allows you to see from other perspectives that things can indeed still occur even though they haven't happened to you yet. Because things can just happen. And they will happen eventually. Does it mean tomorrow? Does it mean in 100 years? I don't know. But things will happen no matter what you think or say. So stop either using it as a justification to not act at all, or stop trying to dissuade other people from preparing, because then what are you even doing? Just being negative for no reason? Or you think people are wasting their time preparing? What are you doing when you're not preparing? Watching Netflix? Who cares if people are preparing if nothing ever happens? They're just doing something productive that they enjoy. You can enjoy these things. I enjoy getting out and doing things that help me be better prepared for emergency scenarios. Doesn't mean I am wasting my time in case those emergencies never happen. It's just something I enjoy to do. Sorry, I like to read a book sometimes. I guess I shouldn't, because, you know, it's a waste of time according to some people who don't like to read. You see what I'm saying? Obviously, this is a sore subject, but I'm just tired of hearing it. And you should be too. We all know things can happen. I'm sure people in Ukraine right now wish things would never happen, bro. But one day they woke up and things were happening. And man, they're not even a third world country. So, gee, I wonder if anything like that could ever happen here.